a meeting, negotiation meeting, colleagues, the chief education officer was there. And the chief education officer said to me, Mr. Malabver, I agree with you that the shelterees must leave the compound. But is there something that you are hearing that has caused you to be so vociferous? I turned to the chief colleagues and I said, yes, chief, they must leave now. The day before yesterday, I dropped a bombshell. Yesterday, there was a firestorm. I have taken particular note of the press release out of the Ministry of Education. Statements by the Minister of Education. Statements by the Permanent Secretary. And statements by the Minister who is supposed to be in charge of local affairs, including that of shelterees. It is now time for the JTA to clap back. The Jamaica Teachers Association demands immediate action and rejects deflection from core responsibility. The Jamaica Teachers Association rejects in the strongest possible terms any attempt to dilute, deflect, or reframe the central issue of the need to remove shelterees from schools. This matter is not about personalities, bruised egos, public relations, or political theater. Neither is it, colleagues, about the fact that the Ministry of Education has been left embarrassed by recent revelations. This is about duty of care, credible risk, and the protection of children and educators within spaces designated for learning. The JTA has raised clear, documented, and repeated concerns regarding the use of school compounds as shelter facilities, while those same spaces are being used for teaching and learning. These concerns were formally communicated to the relevant state authorities, including the Ministry of Education, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, and the Ministry of Local Government. These were not speculative. They were grounded in credible reports, professional judgment, and the association's unambiguous responsibility to act where risk is identified. Let it also be stated without ambiguity. I, Mark Malabver, have personally raised concerns with the Minister of Education during a telephone conversation. And this was around March 17 or 18. During that conversation, colleagues, I said to the Minister of Education that the reports that we are getting, if true, violates the Child Care and Protection Act. And the minister's response was, tell them to go and report it to the police. That was the minister's response. We also raised this matter and several other matters, colleagues, in the last monthly meeting. We raised the issue. And I said in no uncertain terms in that meeting, Jen, that not because we are not getting formal reports, it does not mean that there are issues that are not taking place on the ground. I said that in the meeting, and that is a matter of record. During a meeting, negotiation meeting, colleagues, the chief education officer was there. And the chief education officer said to me, Mr. Malabver, I agree with you that the shelterees must leave the compound. But is there something that you are hearing that has caused you to be so vociferous? I turned to the chief colleagues and I said, yes, chief, they must leave now. So there's no truth to any suggestion that concerns were not brought to the attention of the ministry. It is wholly inaccurate, colleagues. The ministry's attempt to rely on the absence of formal reports or confirmed incidents is not only inadequate, it is dangerously dismissive. Child protection does not begin with a confirmation. It begins at credible concern. Equally troubling was the Ministers of Education request during a telephone conversation, well, in text message, and in a telephone conversation as well, for me to name the police station where reports were allegedly made, as well as I should identify and indicate to her which school these incidents allegedly took place. That request, colleagues, was also made by the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kassan Troop. Such requests are most inappropriate, misdirected, and betray the fundamental misunderstanding of how sensitive matters of this nature must be handled. It is not the role, colleagues, of the JTA to conduct investigations. That's not our role. Nor to expose sources or institutions to scrutiny that may compromise the safety of teachers and students and due process. Neither are those roles vested in the Minister of Education or the Permanent Secretary. The government of Jamaica, colleagues, carries a non-transferable legal and moral obligation to ensure that shelter arrangements are fit for purpose, that vulnerable populations are properly accommodated, and that school environments remain secure, controlled, and exclusively conducive to teaching and learning.
Up to this point, when you and I are speaking, I still don't have a report from the JTA on what they know or from Mr. Malabver on what he knows. He made a statement on a public platform on Tuesday, and that's all I have to go on. I've not been given the name of the school. I don't know when it happened, anything. But in any event, even without those details, given my role in terms of the care and protection of children, I have to investigate. It would be easier for me to investigate if I had all of that information, but I don't. And so we have done some work. The ministry has spoken to all of the principals of the 8 schools, because it's only 8 schools that have shelterees. We've spoken to all 8 school principals, and all of them have said that it did not take place at their school. In addition to that, and they've noted that no teacher or student has reported seeing that at school. We've also reached out to Ministry of Local Government, who reached out to their shelter managers, and they've reported back that no shelter manager has received any report of that nature. So where I am now is that I don't have any information to corroborate it. We have done our checks with the schools. We've done as much as we can to corroborate, but we've not been able to corroborate this information. But of course, the protection of our children is important, and that's why we spent so much time segregating the children from the shelterees. And we are going to continue to do that until they leave. I'm very happy that Minister Mackenzie has announced that by May 8th, all shelterees that are in schools will be out, because they would have provided accommodations to them. And so I'm very happy to hear that. And I will do everything I can to support the Ministry of Local Government, because it is important that we get our schools back to a focus just on educational outcomes.
Okay, so that means then that Mr. Malabver said this morning that conversations were had between you and him, and between him and the Permanent Secretary previously about this same kind of issue. So you're saying that there's nothing like that?
No, that's not correct. I have a monthly meeting with Mr. Malabver, and in the last monthly meeting, Mr. Malabver said that the teachers had a lot of discomfort around having the shelterees at school. And I agree, we would. And the ministry has had that discomfort. And we've spoken to the Ministry of Local Government too on the discomfort that we feel with them being there. And he's also spoken to me on the phone, and he has said to me that he hears things, and I've said, what are you hearing? And he says he can't tell me what he's hearing because he has not been able to corroborate it. So the first time I heard anything specific was when he went on a platform and said it, in spite of the fact that we have a monthly meeting and we talk routinely. Just telling me that, there's discomfort and that the shelterees shouldn't be there. I agree. They should not be there. But that's not an allegation. Telling me that that there are people having sex in front of children, that's a completely different story. And at no point did Mr. Malabver say to me, the permanent secretary, as far as I know, or anybody else in the ministry, that there were individuals engaging in sexual activity in front of children. I'm very, very, very upset about this because we've maintained a very open relationship. I am here. Anything the JTA wants, they know they can call me and I will work on it. And I've been extremely supportive of their agenda in terms of, treating with teacher-related issues. And so if you know something like this has happened, it's not on a public platform that you say it for the first time. You say it to the team. If you don't want to say it to me, you say it to the PS. If you don't want to say it to the PS, you can say it to the regional director that's responsible for the schools in that area. But there's so many channels for it to go to, and for it to be first aired publicly is definitely very concerning. And then also, we're not able to even get the name of the school up to now. You and I are speaking. I don't know which school it is. I've had to be surmising which school it could possibly be. But as I said, all the principals have said it's not their school, and they have no such report at their school.